Welcome to the final part 8, where we ask, how will the Antichrist use the Sabbath to deceive believers? I want to jump into this immediately by stating that I'm not going to argue the point if we should keep the Sabbath or not. This is not the topic. The topic is, would the Antichrist use Sabbath keeping as a tool to deceive Christians? In 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 4, he opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God and the object of worship. As a result, he seats himself in the sanctuary of God and himself declare that he is God. So if the third temple is built, we believe that the Antichrist would have to go sit in the temple, because he says that he will sit in the sanctuary of God. So if he sits in the sanctuary of God, he needs to be allowed there by the Jews, the Orthodox Jews. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Jesus was crucified by the Orthodox Jews. One of the main reasons was because they believed he did not keep the Sabbath. Let's read about that in John 5 verse 16 to 18. So the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he kept doing such things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, my Father has been working until now, and I too am working. So the Jews were trying all the harder to kill him, because he was not only breaking the Sabbath, but was also calling God his own Father, thereby making himself equal to God. So you see, one of the reasons they were angry with him was because he did not keep the Sabbath according to how they wanted him to keep a Sabbath. Would those Jews allow an Antichrist to come sit in the temple of God, in the holy place, who does not keep a Sabbath? When we did missions work in Israel, one of the things that was very apparent to us was the way that they keep a Sabbath. These Pharisees would walk around on a Friday afternoon, and just as it starts getting dark, they would go into shops blowing on a horn and telling people to go home, the shops needs to close. They police the Sabbath. Currently in Israel, they police the Sabbath. They will not allow anybody, there's no public transport, no shops, nobody is allowed to work on the Sabbath. Now, if a Messiah, which they have to approve of, appears on the scene, and they have to approve him sitting in the temple of God, do you really think they will allow one that is not keeping the Sabbath? The fact that he would enforce Sabbath will tick next to his name that he is the Messiah that they are waiting for. And many Christians are making such a big deal about Sabbath that they too will be confused, because you see, they teach that the Antichrist will abolish Sabbath keeping, but it cannot be, because if the Antichrist abolishes Sabbath keeping, the Jews will not allow him in the temple. 2 Corinthians 3 and verse 5 to 6, there is nothing in us that allows us to claim that we are capable of doing these works. The capacity we have comes from God, as it is He who makes us capable of serving the new covenant, which consists not of the written law, but of the Spirit. The written law brings death, but the Spirit gives life. See, Paul says, we bring him a new covenant, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. We do not come with the old written covenant. We do not come, it is written, this is the law, this is the law, this is the law. If you are born again, you are renewed, and your old man has died. You have become a new creation, filled with the Holy Spirit. God has now written His laws in your heart, and you will obey what the law of God tells you, which is written in your heart. For if you live by the Spirit, you will not do the things of the flesh. And then Galatians 5 verse 18 says, but if we are being led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. The reason for that is not that you are now allowed to do whatever you want. The reason is that you will not do whatever you want if you are led by the Spirit. You will do what the Spirit wants. And this is the power of salvation in Jesus. This is the power of being born again. And that is that God takes out your sinful nature that caused you not to obey Him, and He replaces it with a godly nature, so that you're no longer a slave to sin, that you are now able to live a godly life 5, Romans 6, 7 and 8. The things you do not want to do, you stop doing. The things that you want to do, you start doing, because you don't live in the flesh, you live in the spirit. So you don't argue about theology, saying, yes, but Moses, and yes, but the Ten Commandments. You'll say, yes, but the Holy Spirit has shown me that this is the way I need to keep my Sabbath. This is the way I need to worship my God. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. My question to you today is, will you follow the Messiah who brings back the Sabbath? If somebody appears on the scene, charismatic man, does signs and wonders, brings peace to the earth, re-establish the keeping of a Sabbath to the whole world, would you follow him? Would you think it's Jesus? Are you led by the Spirit of God or by theological opinion? Is your theology overriding what the Holy Spirit is teaching? Because this great deception is going to come. And you need to be aware that he will even use these little argument points. When is the rapture? Should we keep a Sabbath? All these things, he's going to use them against you. We're putting focus on the wrong things. We should be saving souls with the gospel of Jesus Christ and not arguing about theological opinions.